You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spirit Dimension with your host, Kerry Greenaway, right here on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Spirit Dimension. I am your host this evening. I am Kerry Greenaway, and tonight I am joined in the studio by one of the loveliest ladies I think I have ever come across. She is a transformational life coach and her name is Kerry Hales. Good evening, Kerry.
Hello, lovely Kerry. Double Kerry tonight.
Two Kerrys in the studio.
Can they cope?
I don't think they will be able to because we've been naughty already.
I'll control myself.
Now, I came across you on my Facebook page. That's where I very first saw you, through a few mutual friends, as we were discussing just earlier. And the way you deliver your message to people, to empower people, really, really fascinated me. So that's why I wanted to talk to you tonight. So first of all, how did you get into life coaching?
Well, my degree's in psychology, so I didn't start off in that world at all. But I'd always been fascinated by people, so I went back and studied. I was a mature student, and so I did that, and then I worked in the NHS, sort of, in management level, and I was quite stressed, and I used to go to a different type of chiropractor, a network spinal analysis chiropractor. And in that, there was a guy who he was doing a weekend called Self-Actualisation, the Experience. Mm-hmm. And he did an evening preview. And I sat with this group of people and they talked about choices in their lives. And this guy sat next to me and he chose that he was just he was a semi-professional golfer and that's all he did. And it was so shocking to me that there was these choices that people were making. I was just going through life, and I was furious. I sat on the train the next day, kind of thinking, I was looking around at all these people who didn't look very happy, and then I get to work and there'd be a lot more people that didn't look very happy, and then I'd go home and I'd think, my God, nobody's happy going home either. It was a real shock to me. It was a real wake-up call, and that was in 2002. So, and then after that, so I did that weekend. I kind of just thought, this guy is asking me, what do you want? And I just thought, what do you mean, what do I want? It just seems such an absurd question to ask. I was just, you mean there's options here that I'm not aware of? And so that started my passion, my own development. So I went on 30 days. He used to do a 30-day peak performance training, and I went on 4 of those. I managed his company. I did numerous self-actualization weekends. And so for me, it was, my journey into coaching was very personal. I do anything, my top value is integrity, and I couldn't, the idea of getting on the phone to somebody and just not knowing where to help them or ask them something or to get curious with them. So it did start there, and also as a second thing, in the year 2000, I was running a marathon, London Marathon, and my sister-in-law gave me an article in Cosmopolitan, and it was called Life Coaching, and she handed me, she went, "You could do this." And I looked at it and I thought, people get paid to do that? That's unbelievable. I was kind of a bit astounded. I kind of dismissed it. I thought, that's ridiculous. You can't get paid to do that, because that's something that I would just do. That's what I do, let alone be paid for it. So it was kind of a progressional thing. And then when you get to, you know, there's always a tipping point where you just go, I can't carry on doing what I'm doing anymore. It just lacks the interest. I thought, no, I've got to follow this as my thing.
Yeah. And that took you into this step, and it's been completely enlightening for so many people, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, and the thing is that when you work in this business, of course, I have my one-to-one clients, and you know, and you get feedback from them, and I get feedback from them obviously all the time, so I know what they're doing in their lives because I'm talking to them. But then you know, when you start to work in social media, you know, and I like how we met, you know, then you're talking to me about, you know, of how I speak to people and videos and different things, because you put a lot of free stuff out there in social media and people share it. And I have people come up to me from all different, you know, walks of life. I have, you know, people on my list that are like a friend of ours, it's a friend of my partner's, you know, his uni friend, and he's on my list. It baffles me that he's on my list. But, you know, and he will ask me different pointed questions, and mums at school will say, "Oh, you know, I'm doing this now, Kerry." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." She goes, "Yeah, because I watched one of your videos and I decided that was me." And I thought, right, I'm just going to do that. And I was just like, so that's the exciting part. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't know when you're putting yourself out there, and it does take a courage and all of those things. But when you know that you run out of choices in life, when it becomes more of a resonance with what you do, you just, you know, when you're searching for what it is that you want to do, there seems to be so many things, and that seems like the biggest hurdle in life, to find out what it is. And then when you find it, that's even a bigger hurdle, because then it's right in your face. It's like, I'm here, you've got to do something now.
Yeah.
And so then you just got to do it and share it and keep going, keep doing it. Yeah.
So how do you, one thing you said was you didn't know what it was that you wanted to do. So how do you start pinpointing that? Because that's a common theme for a lot of people. They sort of like just plod through life, seeing where it leads them, generally not changing their job unless something happens, like the company folds or something like that. And then they pushed into finding another job or something like that. Or their relationship, they'll plod along with that until it ends, generally because of another person's choice. Do you know what I mean? So how do you start working? Where do you start on yourself to try and find out what it is that you want out of life?
Well, I mean, it is, you know, in all of those areas, it's the same theme. I think the one thing is to make yourself conscious of things, because you like we say, you go along in life, and like I was doing, my career was going, you know, 6, 7 out of 10. I was in a career path. I knew financially where I was going. Everything was secure. I was in the NHS, for goodness sake, you know, so everything was hunky-dory until I had that choice, until I had that question. And if you have that question in life, that where a lot of my clients come to me, is that, but there's something more. And so the step one is to become conscious that you're not happy. Because a lot of us, what happens is that when you look around, you see a lot of people just numbing out the unhappiness. They drink too much, they watch shit TV, you know, they compromise their values, they eat bad food, they don't look out for their health, and they really don't like themselves. They project their needs and wants onto others. They don't take responsibility for themselves. So that stage is about, what can I do, rather, you know, kind of the balance of responsibility versus blame. If you're blaming everybody else, society, your partner, your boss, your husband, your wife, your children, your dog, your cat, you know, your nan, your mum, whomever, it's never about you. It's always about somebody else. And actually, it's all about you. It's always going to be about you. And until you decide that and say, right, I'm making this choice. You know, I mean, can I make those choices all the time? Even, you know, you don't kind of go, well, I've done personal development and I'm fixed now. That's it. I haven't got to do it anymore. You know, like for me this year, like I lost my mum 2 years ago, and I realised a lot of things about that was that she was my default. I'd always go to her. So a part of me, although I was very self-regulated and I've done a huge amount of personal development, there was a part of me that used to go to mum that because I'd pick up the phone and just breathe, and she'd go, "You're right." And so, you know, I mean, there was that fixer. And when that isn't there, there's that void again. So it's like, oh my God, I've got to learn to do that for myself now.
Yeah.
When I was 45, I was like, well, gosh, this is going to be interesting. Sort of a new part, a new journey, and a new part of actually loving myself and not actually going externally to yourself. And going, well, how can I love myself? Because if I know that I've done all the work for me, anything external is just icing on the cake. It's just extra. It's not a need. You know, it's nice. It's a nice to have. But for me, like if my partner loves me or is in a great mood or if he's in a bad mood, I still love me. I'm still a good person. I'm still a great coach. I'm still a great mum. I'm still all those things because I know that I'm doing all the things for me before you look outside. So I'm giving you these examples because other people can go, actually, well, where do you go outside instead of coming inside and going, well, how can I work on that for myself? So when you are looking for what it is that you want, the first thing is to look at what you don't know, the things that you've got in your life of like, do you love them? Like, you know, do they are they the things that you really love? And if they're not, that's okay. It's not about right and wrong. It's just to go, right, okay, what, if I don't love it, can I love it? Is there something I can do to change it to love it? You know, like if it's a job and it's the boss, and then, you know, maybe it's the job that's right, but the boss needs to change. So you need to find a new job that's similar to that, but in a different environment. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's a relationship, you know, is there something that you can do? Because one thing you can't guarantee is you can't change other people. You can change you.
No, that's
so
very
if you're
true.
looking...
I find that people internalize everything external. It comes into them and they internalize that, which basically fogs them. So they can't then distill it down to, actually, what can I do to make this better and not take on that external internalized fog, as it were. It's very much that side of it, isn't it? You know, he comes home in a bad mood, you internalize that it must be something that I've done, and then it's that side of thing, and clear that out, accept that, oh, okay, he's just in a bad mood. You know, not internalize that, carry on doing what you're doing, and he'll come round, or your boss will come round, or whatever it is. But to actually distill it down to, is this making me happy? And if it's not, to change that into how that's going to make you happy, like you say, whether or not that's things you can do within that relationship or within that job or within that friendship zone or whether in that family, because it covers all different areas, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, hugely. You know, and because if you, in terms of looking outside of you, is to say, if you take it personally, anytime you take it personally, you lose. You lose, because there's nothing you can do to change somebody. In terms, the only thing that you can do is I call it posting. So it's like, stay in your zone. You know, like, go and do your thing. You know, like, if someone comes in a bad mood, you can go run them a bath and do the things you can do. You can be kind and compassionate. Yeah. But it's not a reflection on you as a person. So if you take it personally, you really are going to lose out. Yeah. So when you're kind of looking for something that you want to be doing in your life, how do I know? You know, just to give you a few more tips, is to look at the things that you get lost in. Like, time ceases to exist. You know, the things that you know, when you're talking to somebody and they want to listen to what it is. You know, it's like, in my car, if they wanted to set up a worm farm, if they're excited about it and they've got that zest for whatever it is, and it's, you know, it's a passion, and I want to listen, then I'm in, and like I chase that curiosity. It's a space of curiosity, and you can see he's like, well, I really want to love this to do this and everything else. And I'm like, wow, that's, and we're off, and I'm curious, and I ask more to develop and get it more robust, and so it's clearer passion, and it's a thing, it's real, it's not just a feeling anymore, But if they're talking about stuff and they're into a story about history of how their life is, and you're just like, well, no, whoa, let's go and somewhere else. And so in terms of yourself, if you're looking to change your life, or you think, oh God, this is it, it's like almost like do an audit of your life, really. Like for me, as I say, just on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm so happy. It's just the best thing. Everything's just like the best thing ever. I skip around, I'm doing it. It's just the best. It's like if you killed me today, it would be too late. It's just kind of, and anything in between. And then so you can just look at it and go, right, okay, well, I've written 4. Okay, it's a 4 out of 10. That means it's 60% shit. What am I going to do about that? And then you kind of have to, and it's not, you might not come up with an answer straight away, and that's okay. No one kind of goes, I'm going to change my life. Oh, my life's a 4 out of 10. Oh, that's terrible. I did 9 things, all fixed now. Oh, brilliant. It doesn't. It's just like nobody comes and talks to me for an hour. I mean, I stir up a lot of stuff and there's a lot of curiosity, but you've really got to sometimes just by going, actually, my life is pretty shit and I don't like it. I go, great. And people go, what do you mean great? And I go, great, because now you know. And now you're in a position of knowing. But if you're in a position of my life's a pretty shit and I drink too much and I eat too much and I'm overweight and I don't exercise and I have terrible sex with my boyfriend and my job's terrible and everything else, but because I eat all these things and I've got this layer of numbness over my life, I'm not really conscious of it. So it's those kinds of things that it's just like to take those things off. If you didn't have all the stuff that we layer our lives with underneath, it's like, well, what's going on there? What's the bit? And if it is 2 out of 10, that means 20% you like. So what bit do you like?
Yeah,
so
there's more of that.
Yeah, there's always something there that you love. It's not all of it. But people go, oh, my life's so terrible. No, not all of it.
So let's distill it down, work it out, move forward from it. And if it's in the 20s, like the 2% or whatever, the 2s, then you've got room to improve that. You've got the options for change and choice to make those things better for yourself. And, you've got room there. Whereas if you're like sitting at an 8 or a 9 up in the higher spectrum, there's, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty good if you're up there. Yeah. There's always room for improvement, but...
There is always. No one's 10 out of 10 every day. I'm not a 10 out of 10 every day. You can't be. Do you know what I mean? If I was, there's certain people that Dalai Lama's probably 10 out of 10 every day, but he doesn't have all the daily stresses and me. Like, I have 2 kids. I'm trying to get them out. Lots of parts of my life that are working. I live by the beach. I do lots of lovely things. I make a lot of choices to live the life that I lead, but it's not 10 out of 10 all the time. I get to do what I love, and I get to speak to people. I get to do this kind of thing on a Sunday night. It's awesome, but there are other things I think that are just life. Yeah. When you make the most of it, but I've still got to clean the bin if there's maggots in it.
Yeah, that's not true.
Sure you.
It's not a favourite job, that one, is it?
You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's just plastic shit. It's not right. It's not real.
Yeah. Do you find that social media has increased this unhappiness and this dissatisfaction? And because everyone puts a veneer out there, you see other people doing amazing things all the time, and you think, God, theirs is like fantastic. They seem to have plenty of money. They're always doing stuff, and I'm working really hard, and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm on a treadmill, but they seem to be doing so much. Do you think since since social media has had that big burst? Sorry, my dog's having a little scratch there. Since social media has come through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all those things, has that created a bigger dissatisfaction? With people, have you noticed that?
it's a great question. I think that social media can, because it's kind of all my Facebook life, because I look at coaches of like, it's all staged, their makeup's done, and it's all really pretty, and look at me, come to me and I can sort your life out, and la 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 la, and I can 6 figures of business, and da da da, and look at my Instagram account, and look, this is my life, and it's not like that. It's that's not real. Pete, and I think that when people look at certain aspects of, people they follow, I think you have to be really discerning about who you follow and who, and especially with social media, is because you can it's like kind of just opening your doors to anybody, and you wouldn't open your front door to anybody. Just come on in, say what you like, don't care what you like, and just walk on out the door. No, but yep, oh, you want to pretend that you're that? Then that's fine. Or you just carry on, and we'll believe that. It's fine. It's like sort of on the front of them, they're like all this, plastic and everything else, and on the back they're all pinned together and stuck with tape and everything else. It's just like it's not real. And I do see, I think there is such a huge pressure when people look at that. And for me, obviously, I do a lot of videos for what I do, and I am very positive. This is how I am normally. I've literally come from doing yarn bombing and sewing up some railings in the middle of Whitstable. Because I like to do creative things that were a bit crazy, and I'm making people laugh and do that type of thing because that's my natural manner. Do I do Facebook Lives when I don't feel like that? No, I don't. But I do them when I'm not, an 8 out of 10. I'll do it when I'm a 6, and I'll be, there'll be a different tone to it. But I'll be more, I'll use that energy in a way that's helpful to people. Because there are times when I'm like, sort your fucking life out. This is how it's going to be. Blah, 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 how, come on, right, what's going on, and tell, very straight. And other times it's like, right, what are you doing today? And so the tone does match me.
Yeah.
But you do see if it's all razzmatazz, jazz hands, I just think that's not real. And I don't feel, for me, people's lives are people's lives, and to set the bar to, like I was saying earlier, no one's life is a 10. People do fluctuate. When you're doing a scoring of like how's your life on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm looking for the median score. I'm not looking for today it was 2 and tomorrow it's a 6, and because everyone fluctuates, and I think the social media can be, because people put on either drivel of like, oh, I'm feeling, a little bit of drama here. Everybody can have some attention.
Yeah.
Or look at me again. Look at me. Oh, look at my lovely view. Or look at my lovely this. Look at my lovely that. And it's just like, oh, really? But you don't wake up looking like that, though, do you?
I certainly don't. That's for sure. It takes a lot of work to get to half.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. So yeah, I do kind of. The social media is great in so many ways of connecting lots of people, and then at other times I think, well, God, do I really need to know? That's what unfollow is about for me. I am very discerning of. Someone said to me the day of like being more discerning about who you have access to your inbox. I'm unfollow, unsubscribe, because the messages that come in is just like, you're not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And after a while, you're kind of just thinking, well, I'm not good enough. I couldn't do that. Or she does that, so I can't do that. Or he does that. And, oh, look, he's got a brand new car. Or blah, blah, blah. It's just like, and it's not real, really.
It's not. It's about being responsible for your space, which is something that you're an incredible advocate for, isn't it? Is being responsible for your space. And you talked before about your looking at your life in regards to stories.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk to me a little bit about that? Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, when I ask people a lot about, your life, so in an initial interview with somebody, I have a big question about, their life and what they're doing and everything else. But people get get stuck in the history of their life. It's it's kind of a story, or they'll live a label that they were given when they were, 12, when someone told them that they were clumsy, because that person was pissed off one day and you fell over and it was the last thing they needed, and so they told you you were a clumsy girl, and you lived the rest of your life believing that you were clumsy. And, and that impact has something else. And then, and that's a story, and that becomes real, and that becomes very real. And then your history added onto that story becomes even more real. And therefore you've lived your life like that. So you don't attempt to do things that clumsy people don't do, or someone has told you that you're not bright, or you're not smart, or but you're not as clever as your sister, or do you mean the list goes on and on and on about different beliefs that you have, that you've had from given to you, or you've taken and made them yours. And again, very similar to what we were saying earlier on about it being personal. It's about you. Because when you listen to other people and they're giving you their advice, they're generally talking about themselves. They're not talking about you. How can they be talking about you? They don't live your life. So when you talk about stories, of just being able to see a story, and just be able to what I say to people is just put it on the shelf. Like, put it on your story shelf just for a bit, and just let it sit up there and just see how you would be anyway. Like if someone says that their anxiety is overwhelming and they really want to be able to go and sing, for example. They're a really great singer, but they get so anxious about something. And this is, take that ball of anxiety, put it on the shelf for a bit. Just, it's there, it's okay. And then just to be able to sing and just talk about it. What would you be doing, if your anxiety was just over here a bit? And it's amazing how people can then do that. And then, when you do it for long enough, you can see that the anxiety is that you take the power out of it. You take the power out of the story, because the story becomes their life. It's a game. It's just like I do a great game, one of my trainings called The Labels. And we set a task, and we kind of talk about different things of what fears and different people have. And it's like the Post-it note game, but you stick a Post-it note on someone's head, right? It could be bossy or know-it-all or victim or all of the horrible labels that people get given. And then I set them a task, or they've got to plan a party or something in the group, and then you act it out. So, but then you treat that person with their label. So say like sort of, if yours was know-it-all, you'd be like, yeah, okay, well, of course you would know, and then you carry on to talk to somebody else, and, and then you go around in the circle and different things. And after a while, whereas, you would offer your opinion, you reserve and you sit back and you don't say what you feel because of the reaction that people have. And that is generally an internalization of the label that you've given yourself. And you've told your story so many times that people have believed your story, and then therefore they treat you as your label, and you treat yourself as your label. You do, and it happens in so many ways. It's just it. And when you see it, that could just be it. It can just happen like that. It doesn't have to be this intense investigation of how you're never going to be clumsy again, or now you're going to be quiet. It's just that, she's the quiet one. Or don't mess. Don't leave it be. Or just so many different ways of doing it. And once it's kind of just like turning a light on. When you see it, just notice it. It's just like, and the thing is, it's just as they noticing fixes more than fixing. Just notice it, and that's it. And then you go, wow, God, I've done that all of my life, and I don't need to do that anymore.
It's just recognising that within yourself, that label is attached to you, and you suddenly go, actually, I'm not that label.
No.
That's not what I am, so I'm not going to subscribe to that behavioural pattern.
Yep, absolutely.
And allow other people to subscribe me to that behavioural pattern either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like you say, it's recognition of yourself is half the battle with that one, isn't it?
Yeah, hugely. Because you'll see it, and if you kind of look through of how people treat you, well, one of it is allowing people to treat you in a certain way. But when you see that, that you'd like to change that, it's like, well, how do you want it to be? How do you feel? How Because we thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be that person. Or I don't want that. Or of course I hear that a lot. And just to be able to point out that in somebody, just say, well, what do you want? Well, I don't know. Okay, what would be your best guess? Well, I guess I could do this. Great. Okay, what else? I could do this. Okay, what else? Well, and then the flow becomes, and then it's like, well, because the pressure of I don't want this, but I don't know what it is, and because I don't know what it is, I'm just going to stay with this because that's supposedly easier, even though this is a life that I don't want. I don't know what I want, but I'm just going to stick with the bit that I don't, even though it's 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not acceptable. You're accepting that lower standard, aren't you? Because you don't know what you want. So rather than pushing your fear barrier and pushing your barriers for yourself, you sit in that rut and allow yourself to be that, even though you don't like that. No. And that's the thing, is just that when you start to ask people, what do you want? And they're like, what do you mean? Was this the same thing as how I started? I didn't know. I was kind of doing different things. And I always thought, this is it. This is, there must be something more. Especially when you get to a certain age, like I've got, 2 great boys, I've got a man I love, all those different things. And then, because then as part of you, they're like, well, why should I be asking for more? I've got a lot already. I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy. It's just like, well, you're not allowed to have everything. You're not allowed to have it all, because that's just, that's not on. We're not allowed to do that. So in that thought pattern, though, in itself, you restrict yourself because it's almost like, I'm not allowed to have that all because I've got so much I'm grateful for and so much I'm, really appreciative of, but I'm not allowed to ask for more because I've already got so much. But why can't you have more? Why can't you make it better? Why can't you do things? All right, so you've got 2 great kids, but they're going to go off and live their life in their way. Yeah. Your husband's doing what he wants to do in his life. It's almost like you take your own permission away to do the things and evolve for yourself. Yeah, hugely. Yeah.
And, there's always something else. There's always going to be something else to do. And one of my favourite poems is the Marianne Williamson poem I have on my site. And it's like it's just really about like playing small doesn't serve the world. You playing small, and that's what happens if you don't lead. You don't shine the light for others to do the same. So if you don't step into that role and say, "Come on, we can do this," or "I want to go and do this," because I really want to do that. And why shouldn't I do that? It's my time on the planet. Why can't I do that? Because by you saying, I'm going to do that, somebody else that listens to that and think, wow, if you can do that, I can do this. And before you know it, the ripples go out. But if we're all going to compromise and go, oh no, actually, I don't really want to speak up for myself, or I don't want to do that, or I don't feel like doing that, or my mum never did it, or my sister's not doing it, or my brother's, he's the one that does that, or my husband does all that, or he deals with that money, all the different things. You just compromise your values, then you're not stepping into your own power, your own authority, and your own reason for being on the planet. It's kind of, you just think, well, what you're only here for a limited amount of time. Well, why aren't you doing it full out? Because where's the fun in that?
So people accept an existence rather than pushing themselves. Do you think fear is what stops people from doing it a lot of the time? A fear of failure or a fear of capability?
I think it's kind of like there's a mixture. I think some people are fearful of being of what they are capable of because they've never seen someone do it before. Do you know what I mean? They want to follow in someone's footsteps. They want to be able to see that they can do that. Oh my God, But what your gift is may not have footsteps in front of you. That might be that you might not have that someone that can say that, oh, I've done it, you can do it. it might be that you've just got to go and do it yourself. You know, you might be the first person to do it, you know, and we're never going to know. And there are so many fears that hold people back. But the funny thing is that fear's just a story. And it's just, there's so many acronyms for fear: false evidence appearing real. I swear, F everything and run. You know, it's not real. It's an illusion that how you think it's going to be, and life's never how you think it's going to be. You know, we can get ourselves in a whole kind of worry knot about what it is and how it's going to be, and I'm going to do this, and they're going to say that, and they'll say that, and then I won't like it, so I'm not going to do it. It's like, well, we don't know. We don't know what we're going to find on the other side of it. But when you do it, then you know. But that's the only time you know. You don't know before because you've not been in that situation before. You've not, you know, breathed that way. You've not met that person or asked that question or said yes instead of always saying no, or saying no instead of always saying yes. You know, so I think if it's sometimes it's a fear of being big, playing small, because the fear of like, oh my God, you know, do I want to be that person? Can get kind of drop. It's like, oh God, I don't think I want to be famous, and so they don't even start a business. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? Yeah. It's kind of it is that ludicrous. It's like, well, you know, they're not sure how it's going to be, and I don't think I'm going to be able to work out how the accounts are, so I don't think I'm going to even do it. Whoa!
But you'll learn those things. What? You will learn.
You will. You know, just baby steps. Like one step. As long as you're stepping, then you're growing. Otherwise, you're just stepping backwards if you're just staying still.
Yeah, you're not progressing or evolving in that way, are you? You are just static and stuck in that rut.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to a point in my life, and I made the conscious decision to actually, I recognised I was saying no, because I can't do this because of the kids, or I can't do this because I've got work, or I can't do this because of the money, or I can't do this. And yes, all those are restrictions. I said to myself, right, I'm tired of missing out. Excuse me, I'm tired of missing out on opportunities. So I'm going to say yes, and I will make that work for me. And, you know, yes, okay, so I have to consider the children, and I have to consider my work, and I have to consider the money situation. But if there is any way around all those things that I can do it, I'm going to take those opportunities and run with them. And since I started doing that, my life changed for the better. But that was a really hard, conscious decision to make. It was a conscious decision, because I got to that point where I was just so bored with what I had. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you do, you know, it's like, who was it? Someone was asking me today about, you know, change. That was it. Yeah, she was talking to someone that were in a yarn bombing, and she was saying about her job, and I was asking about her job, and she said, oh, you know, about different things, and I said, well, you know, you don't sound that unhappy, because she was thinking that she should change. She should, you know, well, I think, you know, and I'm like, well, nobody changes until you get to the stage where you're done with being in that space. You know, like you must have got to a space, like you say, you know, I was like, I'm bored. Okay, so, you know, like we were talking about earlier on, it's like, you know, benchmark your life, have a look around and go, right, okay, is this the same as it was, you know, 6 months ago? And if I can carry on, this is how it's going to be. Nothing's going to change unless I do. Unless you do, nothing will change. And if you're okay with that, then that's great. And that's the thing that I really like to tell people is give yourself permission to be okay where you're at. Because otherwise you're going to beat yourself up for the fact that you're a 2 out of 10. It's just like, you know, this is your life and you can make it great as it is. Nobody has to change their life. But either be happy with how you are and accept these are the things, you know, and if you're happy, you know, like sort of, that you can be happy with a very simple life. My life is very, very simple. I don't overcomplicate it. You know, I mean, like I do have a social media profile and I do different things, but it's very simple. I get up and I make sure that I take my boys to school and I bike to school, I bike back, I walk the dog, and I'm all ready to start work at 10. I don't have clients before 10. I have sometimes clients early in the morning because they're international ones, and I'm finished at 2:30 and I go pick up my boys and I'm mum again. That's a very simple life. You know, it's not I don't fit 1,000 different things in. And is my business a multi-million business? No, it's not. But I don't want that for me. My values aren't about that. My values are making sure that it's in balance with being a mum and growing a business and sharing what I do, and it will grow because I keep focus on it and different things. But so if people aren't happy, it's like, how can you be happy with what you have? And if you can't be, then go, right, okay, what needs to change? It won't be everything. It won't be the whole thing. You know, because there'll be one thing. It's just like, I do a great analogy about, it's called it shit soup. And it's kind of like, it's just you can have this amazing life, you know, this is of your, amazing life. And it's like all the organic ingredients, they're all delicious. And you put them all in, a little bit of lemongrass, a little bit of salt, pepper. It's all bubbling, everything else is lovely, everything else. But then someone just pops their cheek over the edge and just pops the little turd. And then what have you got? You've got shit soup. So it doesn't matter that you've got this amazing life, but if you've got one part of it that's like not good, it's gonna murk. You know, the rest of it, the flavour of that your lovely organic soup is just really not going to be what you'll be eating anymore. You have to just look at it. You know, where is that turd? What is this one part of your life? Because there probably is one part, even if you want to change, or you think you want to change it all. I probably think that that's not true. Yeah. There'll be something that actually, if I change that bit, just that bit, and see how I do, even if it's I'm not sleeping properly. Do you know what I mean? There are so many simple things that people can do to change your life for the better. That it hasn't got to be. Employing a life coach for 6 months. It could just be, I'm going to make sure I'm in bed and I turn my phone stays downstairs by 10 o'clock at night, so I have 8 hours sleep for a week, and see how different I feel. Yeah. Or this week on my free group, I was doing a water challenge. Because so many people don't drink enough water. We drink so many disgusting things that have got chemical warfare going on in them, and the impacts of it. And I was doing a lot of research around, people have written so many blog posts and everything else. You don't have to do anything these days of like 30 different reasons of the impact of water, and simple things of how that can have such a huge impact on your life. Doesn't cost anything, it's a very simple thing to do. But if you say to people, do you drink enough water? They go, oh no. And you go, right, okay, let's work this out then. If you have 8 hours sleep at night, that means you've got 16 hours and you're supposed to drink, they say eight good glasses a day. If you're not exercising, that's just at the limit. And he goes, you work that out, it takes you 5 seconds to drink a glass of water. So that's 40 seconds investment a day for you to drink. So you can't actually do 40 seconds. I don't like water. It's like, yeah, but it's 5 seconds because of all the benefits that you're going to get by drinking this. That's one glass of water every 2 hours. It's not difficult to do, even just by doing this challenge. And there are people who drink water and everything else, but even when you just kind of know, it's just like, gosh, I'm really conscious of how to do that. I mean, like I get up in the morning, I drink a glass of water. I had to train myself to do that. I didn't used to do that. My mum died of cancer, and I tell you, she was popping so many pills by the end of it. Give her a glass of water, she'd be like sipping it like it was poison. And I'd be like, if I asked the doctor to prescribe you water, but that's how crazy we are about things. It's like we allow our minds to agree, if you've not been brought up by drinking a lot of water or a good habit or healthy habits, then you adopt other habits, and before you know it, that's what you do. There are very simple things that you can do to change your life very easily without any cost at all.
No, I completely agree. My grandmother, she had rheumatoid arthritis, was on a cocktail of drugs for that. And the first thing she would do in the morning was put a slice of lemon in a glass of water, drink that down. I remember it distinctly, boiled water. She would boil the water, put this lemon in it, drink that. And she said, well, I've got to clean my livers and that out from all these toxins I'm taking. And she had the best skin and the best hair and the strongest nails. Even after all these, medicines, I mean, I'm going back a few years now, she actually trialled Nurofen. She was one of the first people to trial Nurofen. That's how far back I'm going, guys, with my poor old grandmother. But she was still, I mean, she was completely gnarled up, but she put it down to drinking lemon water in the morning and lemon water at night, and making sure that she kept a very clean diet. The fact that although she had all these joint issues and she was in pain, she put it down to the fact that she could still be mobile and still get out and do the things and remain independent by just taking these simple steps. And those were steps that she can take for herself and be responsible for her space and herself. And that's what I grew up around, was women taking responsibility for themselves and going, I'm now, my mum, she was going, well, my girls are now off at big school, secondary school. I'm now getting bored sitting around. There's only so much cleaning I can do. I'm going to go back to work. Yeah. And she ended up having a really good job and actually earning more than my dad did, which is to put his nose right out of joint. But that then facilitated them to go on holidays and stuff like that they never would have had if she hadn't have done that. So I was very blessed in my life, because I actually had incredible role models to take responsibility for your space. And if it's not working, to be able to look at where it's not working and break it down. And time management was one of the big things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's boundaries, boundaries are an amazing kind of thing that people don't know, of just seeing where you just losing time all the time, like sort of like a leaky bucket time. It's just that if you don't set aside certain things or chunk things together, if you need to do certain things, it's just like, this could go on for hours, but I switch my day around. So I do a thing called The Miracle Morning, and if you don't know, it's a great book by Hal Elrod. But I used to get up a couple of years ago. I thought, how am I going to keep focusing on my business in the summer holidays? Summer holidays coming up again.
Yeah, God help us all.
And so what I did is just I'd get up early. I'd get up for my kids and I'd do the things for me that I know, like in my personal development. So in the Miracle Morning, there are 6 things. So journaling, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and silence, so meditation. So in the morning, I get up at 5 every morning. And that's every morning. That's not just, I don't have weekends off. My life isn't about having time off for anything that I do. If I need to have time off, that means that the thing that I'm doing is not in alignment with who I am. So I get up at 5. I do my meditation. I do, I do journaling, types of journaling. My affirmations are part of my journaling. So, and the reason why I do that is that I get the best of me in the morning, and I do all those things that make me the better person in the morning. I don't wait till I get to the end of the day when I'm tired and a bit lethargic, and then think, oh, now I'm going to find the enthusiasm to write the book that I want to write. I'm going to find the enthusiasm to change the way I think. Oh, I'm going to write that journal now that I want to do. It just doesn't happen. Never happens. Mum's always the last on the list. So in terms of doing that for yourself, I do that in the morning. So, and that, obviously for me, I've been doing it a long time, and I coach, and obviously, and I help promote what I do. But for other people, it's about, even if you set your alarm for 15 minutes earlier so you could have a luxury shower, just a little bit of time for you first thing, because that little injection will decrease the resentment that you have, especially coming up in the summer holidays. We're all running around trying to, if you're running your own business, or just being mums and parents, It's like, how did we manage to do this and have a little bit of time for me? Well, I do that in the morning, because then when they're up, I want them to be up, because I've sorted me out. I've ticked my box. That might be, I'll listen to some Audible, and I might do a bit of knitting while I'm doing some Audible. I'll go out exercising on the bikes with the boys, because they're boys and they need to be exercised, as do I. So there's loads of different ways that you can do it, just by saying, right, okay, I'm going to set the alarm half an hour earlier, but that time's for you. That time, half an hour, is not for you to put on the wash or to do something else. It is your time. So think about something that you can really love to do, that if you just set the clock a little bit earlier. And when people say, I don't like getting up early, and I go, no, you don't like getting up early, because as soon as you get up, it's all about someone else.
Yes.
When you set the alarm to get up early and it's all about you, it's a different feel completely.
Yeah.
It really is. And that will significantly change your life too.
Yeah, I mean, one of my sayings in my business is self-care is not selfish.
Mm-hmm. No, it's vital. It's absolutely vital.
Yeah.
Part of my self-care is absolutely vital for me to be the best mum, the best partner, the best person I can be. Because if I don't nourish me, how can I because there's going to be that little bit of, it's all about you, isn't it? It's all about you. It's all about you, boys. Running around washing. It's all about you. More washing. It's all about you, isn't it? And
it builds that resentment, doesn't it?
It does. And I know that I can see that when that happens now, that my partner's been working away a bit, and and then my boys have to be very appreciative, because I just but if you don't ask to be appreciated, they won't do it. So we do. It's just like, right, what do you want to be appreciated for? And we'll say, and we'll go around. It's like, okay, he'll be appreciated for this, and I'll be appreciated for that, and then you'll see, and I'll say, I'd like to appreciate you for doing this, and you can see, it's like, wow, you recognise that in someone, and it breeds them to look out for things that they want to be appreciated for, and you get to know how people think as well. It's a great tool. It's a really great tool. But yeah, otherwise, especially for parents, we do get a bit resentful of how much time we seem to be spending on other people instead of ourselves.
It's incredibly easy, though, to get wrapped up into that, isn't it? And lose that focus from your own needs and putting them onto everything else. I think when you have children, the life change that both men and women go through in their personal life, from being that individual, going out, doing your job, doing the things you want when you want to do it, and then all of a sudden this little beautiful bundle of joy comes along that you wanted, that you really wanted, in some cases overly wanted, and then yes, those first couple of years where they're babes in arms is that life change. It's not just that time, it's that long-term look, and you get lost along the way. You forget you forget what you like and how you tick and what's important for you, and actually what made you work as a couple as well. If you're in a couple, I'm actually a single mum. Different story. But it was only actually once I became a single mum, I started to reevaluate and go, actually, I lost myself. I'm not surprised he fell out of love with that person, because it wasn't the person he met. No. And I think because, it's such, like you say, it's such a radical change in your life. And a lot of people, I think, sort of my clients come, you get to the stage where you've had your kids and you're ready to go back to work, and then you try to fit back into the life that you had before, that person that you were. Change. You don't want to chase big sales figures and everything. They just seem so ludicrous to what they were before. But then that was your label. That was your character. Now what? What? I don't know what I want to do anymore. So that's one of my huge frustrations of seeing capable, amazing people. They have children, and then it's just like, and then they go, oh, I'm just going to be a cleaner now because it fits in around the kids, and different things. And then you just think, yeah, but that's okay. And I get that. I get that you need to provide for your children, absolutely. But there are, it's just, again, you can, what else? While you're building that, it's like, what else? Spend a little, even if you spend half an hour in the morning writing your book,
get up in half an hour and just go, right, okay, I'm going to, I am doing the honourable thing. I am going out there and in the money, and I'm supporting it with my family, but you can do other things as well. It can be, you can follow your spirit and go, right, what else am I here for? Because we're all here for, to enjoy the fact that we're in this amazing body and we're here for a short, limited time. We're certainly not here just to bring children into the world and pass the time away. After that, your job's not done then. It's just beginning.
Very much so. Yeah, it's an evolution. You're continuing to evolve and grow, but you have to be the one to force that forward and take those steps within yourself to go forward. Now, you mentioned journaling. It's something you advocate greatly in your business for people to do, because that's why they see it written down on paper where things are not quite right, whether or not it's a page of moaning, or whether or not they're it's a really useful tool. Can you just quickly talk to me about journaling before we disappear? Because we've only got 5 minutes, would you believe?
I know. Well, okay, so some tips on journaling. It is kind of like one, like we were saying earlier, to start off by, categorizing all of your life, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's, all the things that are important to you. So you write all the things that you're important to, and then judge them, and then write out, what would make it, if it's a 4 out of 10, what would make it a 5 out of 10? So create things. It's about intentional things. It's not about a wine fest. Because, it can be, if you want to go, right, okay, I'm going to have 5 minutes just to get it all out of my head. And then let it go, right? And then so that, right, okay, now I'm going to work on my health. I've got something going on there, and it's a 4 out of 10. Okay, what would make it a 5 out of 10? Well, 5 out of 10 would be if I had balanced meals. What does balanced meals mean? Balanced meals for me means I wanted to add in more vegetables. Okay, how am I going to add in more vegetables? Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure I write out a menu each week. Is that going to work for me? Am I going to do that? If you're not going to do that, then don't set out that, because you're just setting yourself up for failing. So that's crazy. So, if it's a case of, right, okay, when do I go shopping? When's the best time for you to go shopping, for you to make sure that you do the things that you want to be doing? So it's an intentional conversation with yourself about what you want to bring into your life. It's kind of just saying, right, okay, what would an amazing life look like? What would a job look like that I really want to be doing? If it's, if I really enjoy people, what kind of people things do I enjoy doing? So it's that conversation that you're inviting into your life, the things that you want, rather than it being, and if you find initially that it's all about nots, don'ts and everything else, write those out and then have a look to see what you've written. And then cross out the don'ts and the nots, because the universe doesn't hear those kinds of things. So it has to be a positive. So if it's, I don't want to have this in my life, what if you write that out and then go, well, if that was a positive, what do you want from it? So you can see it more. So it becomes a clearer affirmation rather than this negativity. Because if you write out negativity, that's what you get. If you think negative, that's what you get. Yeah. So it's the same kind of thing. So just making sure you're clear about what you want to attract in. So some good tips.
Like you say, it's changing that negative thought pattern into a thought pattern. So rather than I do not want something, it's I want this. Changing your mindset into a more positive thing. The more positive you are, the more positive, or you're more likely to take a positive step forward, rather than an initial negative block straight there. Because
Absolutely.
It's, I don't want. It's incredibly important. I found it's incredibly important to change that mindset of what is it I want, and make it a positive statement rather than, well, I know what I don't want. I know what I want now. Do you know what I mean? It's a very, very different thing. Right, we are coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much for talking to me. We have shared your website into the chat room, but if you'd like to tell everybody where they can actually find you to come and meet you and hopefully go forward with a life coaching situation.
So I'm Kerry Hales everywhere, really. So if you Googled Kerry Hales, you would find me, because my website is kerryhales.com. I'm Kerry Hales Coaching on Facebook. I'm Kerry Hales on Instagram, LinkedIn. So if you find me and connect with me and all those people, so it's quite easy to find me. So I'm not kind of, a certain coach or anything. So it's very simple. So come and connect with me on my page. My page is connected to my free Facebook group, which I set challenges like we talked about earlier, and you can come and join them in. So yeah, lots of lovely free.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you tonight. Thank you everybody who's been listening into the chat room. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Don't forget, you can find us on YouTube as well as our Facebook page, Parasearch Radio. And obviously it's now a podcast, so please feel free to share any of the shows that you found of interest to your friends. On that note, I bid you all a very farewell and a very good night. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.